What pitches have you asked to draft between specific pitches?
I think I learned my lesson from that. Yeah, this series just I think Australia and South Africa are two very similar teams, conditions-wise. They play on the same conditions, so there's nothing different that we're expecting. We just obviously when you're playing against a subcontinent team, you're trying to get an advantage somehow. But the two teams in South Africa and Australia are very similar, as I said, in conditions. So we both will play on what we get. We've asked for nothing specific.
Yes, Sam. Okay.
Sorry? Temba Bavuma hasn't recovered fully from his hand injury, so that's the one thing I can tell you. And then we're still pondering on whether we want to play 7 batsmen or 6 and 4 seamers. It's good to go.
Yes, Ed.
Having said that you'll play on what you get, just what are you guys expecting? And the North Eastern Australia normally makes it pretty flat. Is that what you're expecting? A good batting pitch?
I think, just my opinion, obviously the Durban wicket the last few years has definitely slowed down a bit, and that's just the nature of the square. So I expect that it will be quite slow. It might take a bit of turn in the test match. If anything, maybe a bit of tennis ball bounce.
Telford and then Ben and then Myron.
I'm sure you've been sitting on your couch for the past few weeks thinking, what the hell is going on? Because after the second test, it seemed to go back into the middle, very quickly. Is that all down to the injuries, or did you see something else in there?
No, I think injuries. If you take 3 or 4 guys out of any team, if you take Virat Kohli out of the Indian team, it will be a different team. So, as I've said so many times, especially about experience in Test cricket, it's my opinion that you can't just take out 3 or 4 guys and then expect to replace them overnight. They're there for a reason because they've done it for a very long time in international cricket. And this is very unfortunate that it happened. It was obviously the plan before the series to have a look at 1 or 2 guys through the series. I think the selectors had the opportunity of looking at a few more than they wanted, but that's us. You can take learning from that as well. The coach has seen a lot more players, so yeah, it was frustrating watching, but I understand that. I understand the reason. Yeah, I've played with finger injuries before, so I think the biggest battle you have to get over is the mental side of things. I've had 3 good nets over the last 3 days just to get a bit of hitting a lot of balls in. But the biggest thing is to mentally be ready for the battle, and I'm ready for that.
Myron, Tess, and then Ben.
Just a word on Warren Walker and his decision to retire, and also if you just chat about his options of who was placed for going forward.
Yeah, Morne, an absolute legend of a servant of South African cricket. Been a great team man for the last 10 to 12 years. He's really served the team well. He will be missed, but as he said, that we understand fully why these reasons of going. He's got his family to look after, so we support him in that. Difficult guy to replace. As I've mentioned before, your experienced seamers are very important. The good thing though is that we've got Lungi Ngidi that's coming through to take his place when the time is there, and obviously we've got Dale Steyn hoping to get back as well. So as long as you have options available, I think certainly in those 2 we do have the options available.
You talk about home ground advantage. You got to Australia, they've beaten them, they've come here, they've beaten you. How do you size up this battle in terms of what you've already achieved this summer to what is expected for the battle against tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a strange one. You're expecting obviously our home conditions to suit both teams, and it hasn't. All this, I remember the last series we played, it was a really close one. Morna getting bowled the last half an hour of the day there at Newlands. So it was a tough series. Obviously, when you play Australia, you expect nothing less. But especially this series, we really want to try and put a peg in the ground to change that. You know, I know it's easier said than done, but we're a strong test team. We've had some good results, and we're looking forward to which will be a really, really tough test series.
Quite a few test captains in the last year or so have been tearing their hair out trying to work out how to bowl the seats, finding my past him. You've had time with him at the 5BL. Do you think that closeness to him or time around has helped you or might help you?
Yeah, he's had a really good season. He scored a block load of runs. Yeah, I hope so. I hope that there's a bit of experience there that I can take into the game, and you know, even leading up to the previous series where we played against him, he was still their best batter, but to some degree we did keep him quiet. He's obviously a very big player for them. You know, similar to what I said about the Indian team, you know, they've got one or two standout star batsmen, and if you can put pressure on them and keep them quiet, that genuinely reflects how your series will go.
Just one on the sort of cricket that Australians that have been playing against each other. Is it, both teams strong pace bowling attacks like to drive the game forward? I mean, is it some of the best cricket that you play in all the test cricket?
Yeah, I would say it's the most competitive series that you play. We're both very passionate, competitive cricketing nations, and we try and leave it all out on the field. So it's certainly it's great entertainment for the people watching. So we're all ready to go, and I'm sure the Australian cricket team is excited to start the series as well.
Just getting back to the team selection. You said that you guys still haven't decided on second batsman for 4 places. A guy like Tiernus Bragg has also been working a lot on his bowling with I know he's a batsman with a pass on that base, but a lot on his bowling with Oates and also bowling in the Sunfall series. Is that something that can maybe give him a boost in the right
Yeah,
direction?
definitely. I mean, it's obviously when you play 7 batsmen, you've got 3 seamers and a spinner, which leaves you a touch on the thin side with the bowling, and the fact that Tiernus does have that as a backup pushes him into the right direction as an option. For us, it's just, you know, you also look at the opposition you play. When we played against India, we felt it was important to try and make sure we can use our pace to put them under pressure, and that's why, I mean, someone like Kesh probably didn't play a bigger role as he thought he would because the conditions didn't suit that. So, you know, this series, if we do feel that, you know, an extra batter will be something that we will credit for, that is very, very, very much part of our thinking.
Faf, if you just look at the calendar, you know, this is the last kind of test series maybe for the next 12 months or even longer than that. How important has it been in the careers of guys like yourself, maybe passion was that are getting a bit older? I mean, is this going to be quite defining?
I don't think so. I mean, it's you know, when you look at where you are in your career, you know, for me it's difficult to, me personally, I don't look too far in the future. As I sit now, I still feel like I've got a lot left in the tank, and that can change over a season or 2. But right now, you know, Test cricket and certainly the next 2 years of playing for this team in all formats we're very motivated to do that. I know AB is very motivated, especially for this series. So I'm expecting big things from him as well.
Just going back to the 7 batsman thing, a guy like Viamuda, where do you place him within that sort of thinking? I mean, he's obviously scored a lot of runs in 4-day cricket. Do you see him as potentially being one of those 7 batsmen, or is he more of a sort of bowler?
Yeah, I think right now, as I look at it, is if you're leaning towards a batting all-rounder, you're leaning towards someone like Tiernus. And if you're looking for someone that can bowl a little bit more overs, obviously, as you mentioned there, Vian can very much score runs with the bat. But right now, more someone that bowls you your 10 or 12 overs in a day, and from a batting point of view, obviously not quite as good as Tiernus yet, but potentially wise. That's why we brought him into the squad. We feel, obviously he's very young, but someone we would like to try and to push him to get into our test team, because he does make the balance much better, you know. So yes, potentially try and look to get him into number 7, and obviously you get that overs as well.
What's
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, I know Australia is a very good team when they're on top. So for us, it's about trying to limit those moments in every game. There's times when they will be on top, but it's how well you can absorb that period of time and get through it by not losing 2 or 3 wickets in clusters, because then they can burst through you. And from a bowling point of view, it's about how well we can keep them quiet. I felt that if you can keep their run rate down, they're a team that if you can get 1 wicket, you can also get through them. But it's when they're scoring freely, they can get on top of you as a bowling attack, and that's what we did really well when we went there. As a bowling unit, we kept them quiet.
Is it a concern to you that quite a number of your top batsmen have either been injured or haven't been injured before? How well prepared are they for this?
It's difficult to answer for the other guys, but for me, as I said earlier, mentally is more where I make the switch. So before the Indian series, me personally, I didn't have a net almost for 2 months, 2-3 nets, and then I played the first test against India, which, if you look at prepare and underprepared, you're probably underprepared, but mentally I was in a good space and I felt good going into that Indian series. And the same thing now, I haven't had lots of time playing games or hitting balls in the middle, but mentally I feel like I'm there. And also the other batsmen, form for me is just something that it's more mental. Every guy can say he's in and out of form, but it's about how strong you are mentally to try and get through that patch. I'm looking forward to see what our batters do this series. I think the wickets will be a little bit better. I think you have to look at the fact that the Indian series was very, very much bowling friendly conditions, probably the most we've played in South Africa before. And the runs that were scored through that series was not a direct reflection on the guys' form. The scores was pretty low scores from both innings. I think there was only 100 in Virat, if I was correct. So not a concern for me as going into this series now.
Just Kevin, the last one.
You mentioned that AB is especially motivated for this series, and you probably wouldn't want to speak for him on his future, but is there a sense that of a test career that's going to be winding down and this being the last big series?
Yeah. I tried to speak on behalf of him before, and that also didn't help. So your guess is as good as mine, but what I can tell you, he's extremely motivated for this series. AB understands that he is one of the best players in the world, and if he has a quiet series, it makes him want to do more. And he doesn't want people talking about him not performing, so I know the motivation of that will be very big from this series.
Faf, you mentioned the expectation that it's going to be a really tough series. Lower order runs are often very important in games in series like that, and we already saw in the warm-up game with Benoni that Australian player was actually pretty useful with that. How important a factor is that being in your game?
That's huge. I say that against every strong team that you play, that generally your contribution from 7 to 11 is where your character as a team lies. And that showed against the Indians when we played them in the Indian series. I think on average they scored 70 runs for us every test match that we played. And I put that down as to part of the reason why we won the series. So that's, once again, that's going to be our measure of this series. I know the Australian cricket team pride themselves on being quite ruthless to the tail. So once again, our character will be a good test for our character.
Thanks, Myron. Just to Afrikaans.
Just in Afrikaans, can you just chat to us about what this series means to this team and of course, just the historical value of playing Australia?
Ja. Dit is 'n baie groot toetsreeks vir ons hierdie. Ons wil graag as 'n span omdat ons by die huis speel, wil ons kyk of ons daai kan verander. Die laaste 2 kere was Australië hulle gewen. So ons is reg vir die reeks om daai te try verander. Dit is 'n baie groot reeks. Australië is 'n span wat baie goed speel op die oomblik. Hulle is in vorm, hulle het 'n goeie reeks gehad by die huis nou. So ons altyd is spanne in vorm en dit gaan 'n baie goeie reeks wees. Mornay, baie goeie speler vir die Proteas gewees die laaste ruk. Hy het baie vir ons gedoen van die veld af en is op die veld. ons gaan hom baie mis, maar ons verstaan wat sy redes is. Is familie wat, sy vrou wat van oorsee afkom en sy wat oorsee wil werk en vir hom, dis moeilik om heeltyd sy familie te sien. So ons verstaan dit en ons support hom en ons hoop die laaste reeks vir hom is 'n baie goeie.